Well, earlier today, the head of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, claimed that the entire area around Soledar in the east of Ukraine is under Russian control. Ukraine denies this, and the Kremlin will only say that there is a positive trend in the fighting. Well, my next guest is an expert on Russian military activity and tweeted about a proposal by a reporter for Russian state media that, quote, Yevgeny Prigozhin will be elevated to the rank of Major General after he declared victory in Soledar. The Wagner Group Soledar offensive will further bolster his standing in Russian politics. Samuel Romani joins me now via Skype from Oxford in England. Can you just explain for our viewers who the Wagner Group is, first and foremost, and who it is who runs it?
So the Wagner Group is nominally a private military company, but private military companies are illegal under Russian law. In practice, it's basically a paramilitary organization that is closely aligned with the main intelligence directorate, the GRU. The head of the Wagner Group, or its main financier, is Yevgeny Prigozhin.
What does the Kremlin gain from having him and the Wagner Group working for them effectively? And what do they gain from Wagner's mercenary activities on the ground in Ukraine? Let's be quite clear about this.
Well, the Wagner Group, first of all, adds additional manpower to the Russian military, and 40,000 conscripts from the prisons before the major mobilization drive were announced was a significant boost to the Russian fighting force. Also, they have 10,000 private military contractors who have trained and have experience in other battlefields, like Ukraine, like Syria, or even Afghanistan and Chechnya. And given the depletion of the number of elite corps in the course of this war, that experience is quite useful. Also, the Wagner Group is adept at seizing control over mineral assets and carrying out political interference and disinformation campaigns. So it can really augment Russia's vision for hybrid warfare.
Well, they're convinced that they've got control of this town, which is very close to Bakhmut, and we've been explaining why that is significant. What I did think was important was that Prigozhin yesterday just suggested the Ukrainians have been fighting with honour. It did seem odd coming from a man whose reputation stands before him, as it were. Wagner's ambitions have not gone unnoticed in Washington, D.C. Take a listen to what the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary for Defense said at a briefing a few days ago.
In the recent past, we've seen that Wagner is advancing at a more rapid clip than any other unit in the Russian military.
Cracks starting to emerge in Wagner's relationship, certainly with the other Russian military. Are we seeing cracks with the Kremlin, particularly Russian Defense Minister Shoigu? And if so, what comes next? What's the end goal here for Wagner?
So Prigozhin has had a long-standing negative relationship with Sergei Shoigu that even predates this current war. In fact, it dates back to the campaign in Syria, when the Wagner Group was often directly being hired by Assad over the head of the Russian Defense Ministry to carry out certain guardianship operations as well as emergency operations. And now, with Prigozhin trying to take advantage with the frustration amongst nationalists in Russia towards how this war is being prosecuted, has used his telegram channels to smear Shoigu and Gerasimov. So it appears as if Prigozhin is trying to position himself as kind of a shadow defense minister of sorts, who's more respected than Shoigu, who is a civilian, and also who has Putin's ear. So I think that this is a significant realignment in Russian elite politics that could make Russia even more unpredictable and even more dangerous and even more resistant to diplomacy and towards de-escalation.
It's good to get your analysis. It's an important story, extremely important story on the ground. We are 10.5 months into this conflict, and we have seen some of the most brutal trench warfare around Soledar as that battle continues. Important that we get the context from you. The battle for Soledar, thank you, is putting a spotlight then on the Wagner Group, and CNN takes an in-depth look at its controversial leader, find out why he is called Putin's chef, and how he's used the war in Ukraine to raise Wagner's profile and his own. That is all on your CNN app, or of course you can log in at cnn.com.